sentiments, public sentiments against the union. That is not the issue. It is not about money. It's about the institutions. It is very easy. Take a trip to any polytechnic and see what is happening in the place. And you will be surprised at the rate of decay and deterioration and the rate of deviation from the original concept of polytechnic.
Okay, let's ask the Secretary General then. Is it a case of communication of your intentions, intents, and concerns that has led to a situation where a Minister of Education would not understand what the cries and the concerns of ASUP will be, except to narrow it down to some amount of money that is arrears of salary?
Thank you. Well, I think it's a deliberate act. Well,
you're sure it's not your communication as an organization or as a union?
Look, even on Wednesday, precisely on the 12th of March that we met last, we said, look, put the issue of arrears by the side, even though it's a right. Let's discuss other issues. He said no. So he's aware.
So what about the 4 of the 13 that government had promised to attend to? Has government done that yet?
Not yet. Well, let me put it this way. Now, after we suspended the strike in July, following the intervention of the Senate Committee Chairman on Education, Senator Uche, government on its own picked 4 of the key issues to address within 2 weeks. Setting up, completing the exercise of constituting the governing councils of Federal Polytechnics, constitution of the Needs Assessment Committee, the release of the white paper, and the payment of Committees 15 arrears. Now, up until now, at this moment, we know that the constitution of the councils have been completed.
It hasn't been?
It has been completed.
Okay, that's 1 out of 13.
Yeah, the remaining 3, the Needs Assessment Committee has been constituted, but has not finished its assignment up to now. And then the other 2 are left hanging. And in 2 weeks, they promised in 2 weeks, since July, which clearly shows that the government is not really serious about the demands.
Okay, now let me come back to you. Well, what if we were to say this is national television, possibly the president of, okay, the president is not in the country, the vice president is in the country, and the Minister of Education is probably watching this and listening and wondering, okay, what's ASUP going to say? What if we say we drop the issue of these areas and say these are the other issues that are mostly concerning, disturbing, worrying? Find the biggest word you can use to describe it, the most serious word to describe the state of neglect and disrepair that our polytechnics have faced. What if we say that is the situation now? Do you think you'll be able to move forward?
I want us to understand that in agreeing that if government treated 4 of the issues out of 13, that we were willing to suspend. And actually, we demonstrated that willingness by suspending the strike on July 17th, 2013. We demonstrated the willingness. ASUP is not intransigent. ASUP actually is not a belligerent body at all. What we have tried to do, and I think that our students are beginning to understand, look at the recent debacle, the recent tragedy of NIS recruitment exercise. Now, you know that at that exercise, HND holders, NCE holders, national diploma holders, and school certificate holders were put in one group and given the same exams, while BSc holders were separated and given the same exam. Okay, given all the arguments, whichever way we take it, will anybody who is reasonable think that HND and SSCE, amount to the same thing? These are the efforts that we are trying to make to call government's attention to these issues. But unfortunately, instead of government actually, because what we have left, sincerely, if you look at them on the 4 issues, are just paperwork, bureaucracy, nothing else. The Contis 15 thing that we are talking about, in 2009, government entered into an agreement or into agreements with the different academic unions in the tertiary. And it is only in the polytechnics that agreement about paying salaries was not followed. So that in practical terms, what it means is that polytechnic workers since 2009 hadn't been earning what statutorily they ought to have been earning. And that is the situation we're facing. So
but salaries are paid,
salaries
and they're paid
are
on
paid,
time.
yes, but they are not paid in full. And this is what we are saying now. We are saying government has agreed, yes, we have been owing you. And we are saying government, there's nothing to be ashamed about asking for what is being owed you. So I won't say that we're going to keep that aside, but we are saying that there are other issues that perhaps government would, for the sake of the critical mass of this segment of our population, who find access to tertiary education in polytechnics, government still owes them a responsibility to provide this service, this constitutional right of every child in Nigeria. If a child has decided that, yes, my aptitude is to pursue education in the vocational and the technical area, why must he be denied because the institution is named a polytechnic? That is the question.
I thought that HND had been said to be equivalent to a bachelor's. And this had been sorted out years and years ago.
You were at the economic summit. In fact, it was one of the resolutions. Again, that was brought up thrown up by that summit. It is clear. It has become anachronistic. Come to think of it, it went matched against global best practices. That up till today, you are still judging people who had taken the same SSC exams, taken the same JAMB exams, gone to the tertiary level. You are still judging them by where they went to school, instead of what competencies they are bringing to the workplace. And in 2005, under the Obasanjo administration, there was a FED directive that this dichotomy be removed.
Yes.
The bureaucracy killed it. Up until now, we had continued to push. And at the last National Council on Establishment meeting in Ilori, they said they threw it a committee to look at. And I'm glad that the national summit, that the economic summit, zeroed in on education, has thrown it up again. And I believe that, I believe we have a government that, by and by will be responsive to these agitations.
So if I assume a position of an arbitrator today for this minute, and I say that, can you pick 2, 3, maximum 3 topics or subjects or issues of grave concerns and say, let's deal with this. If the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria can deal with these 3 and do so immediately, what would it be?
We had that agreement with government more than...
What will those 3 be? Because
year.
let's assume the minister is watching, and if he's not watching, it will be in the news today on channel saying that these are the 3, they can deal with this.
We know that the issue of addressing this dichotomy that we have been talking about is not an issue that you can take up today and finish, because it requires even legislative action. It requires all kinds of actions, and it has a process to go. So that is core, really, because you have to give these graduates a sense of worth as they contribute to the economy of this country. That is one. Then also we are looking at the legal and institutional framework of polytechnics, mostly represented in the Polytechnic Act, Federal Polytechnic Act, which has been in the National Assembly for the past, since the life of in fact, the last bill died with the last National Assembly. And at the start of this National Assembly, another bill was introduced. It has passed public hearing at the House of Representatives. Up until now, more than a year ago, it passed public hearing. Up until now, nothing has been done.
But then that's not the responsibility of the federal government of Nigeria.
What is the federal government of Nigeria?
No, the executive arm of government that you're dealing with, you're not taking your fight to Senator Chukwumerije and taking it to the House of Representatives and making sure that Nigerians understand that those who represent us in the National Assembly... The strike is not against even the executive arm. So who is it?
We are calling attention. As a matter of fact, we know that in some other subsectors, that when, the issue of retirement age came up, the bill was passed passed everywhere within 2 weeks and assented to by the president. And it was an issue on the strike as at that time of that subsector. So why can't it be like this now? Why are we now separating, responsibilities? It is the totality of responsibility of government, whether it is executive, whether it is a legislature. We believe that if they can strike the necessary synergy, serious and focused, these issues can be resolved.
Maybe, Usman, you can answer this now, because it seems like you're fighting a hydra-headed warfare or multiple agencies of government or sectors of government, sections of government, and it's going to be impossible for you to get anywhere when you're expecting legislation. And like Mr. Asomuga said, you're not going to be able to get legislation in place in just 3 weeks or 2 days.